Hello friends, welcome. Friends, in the morning I recorded a video with the title right in front of your screen, right? So if you see this video, it basically talks about unlocking data insight with Python, a comprehensive tutorial for beginner part 1. In this video, I showed you that how a simple sheet, Excel sheet, which is like this, which is in this particular format, which you can find in the RBI's website. This is called 50 macroeconomic indicators. This is the sheet. When you download it, the sheet is going to look like this. There are going to be 4 different tabs: weekly, fortnight, monthly and quarterly. So what I showed in the morning video is that how you can use this sheet and convert the sheet into using a simple Python program of very few lines. Look at this Python program. How many lines are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all, right? Simple 5 lines, and you can convert this into this particular form with 3 columns. One is a date, another is metric or description, another is value. So this is much cleaner and palatable for feeding into a visualization tool compared to this form, which is a little descriptive and it is not palatable to be fed into a visualization tool. Now there was one more aspect to this whole exercise, why I chose this data set. The reason I chose the data set is that you will find, if you look at these columns, you will find that these columns will have different units. For example, this doesn't have any unit, this is just an index. Then you have another column which is commercial paper amount outstanding having rupees crores as a unit. Then we have got net foreign direct investment having a unit of US dollar million, right? So there are different units for different columns. Therefore, when you have this data sheet converted into this value is not going to be uniform. This value is not going to be of single unit. It is going to be of different units. Now, when you feed this data into a visualization tool, how do you manage different units so as to unlock the story that you want to see in your data set? How you do that? That is the reason I chose the data set, and I am going to explain to you how you can do that using Tableau, and you can use any other tool. Doesn't matter. The concept is important, which I am going to explain to you. So what I have done is, without wasting any time, I am going to go straight to the Tableau dashboard. I have already fed the data into the dashboard, the Tableau worksheet. I have already fed the data, which looks like this, which I have already showed you, into this worksheet. And this is how it looks. So we have got what? We have got a date. So the measure names are, so there in Tableau typically you have got measure names and you have got measure values, right, down below. That's how. What is measure names? Measure names are these, right? Date, metric, and value is the measure values, because there are 2 measure names and there is 1 measure value, right? So this is how it looks. If you look at the sheet, you have see date, metric and values are down below. These are the 3 things which I am going to use for visualization. Okay. Now let's go one step by step. First is date. So date is going to go where? Columns, right? Because you want the columns to be moving with date, because date is the time series. It is in a time series form. It is either going up, going down, depending upon how you sort it, right? So I'm going to use the date as one of the field in the columns, right? I'm going to use that as the field. Now, as I drag this in the columns, you will see that it automatically got converted into year. I don't want it to be in year. I want it to the finest level of granularity. So what I'm going to choose here, exact date. When I choose exact date, then it converts into a continuous form. I don't want in a continuous form. I want in a discrete form, because I want each and every value to be clearly seen and analyzed. So discrete. The problem with discrete form is that it expands the window and it does not fit into the window of visibility, right? You can see that it expands and doesn't fit into the window of visibility. Now, in order for you to unlock the story from the data, you want the data to be seen in a window which is under your control. Okay. Now, how do you do that? So for that, you have to define the window. Now, window can be defined by specifying what specifying the start point of the window, right? I'm just going to use my marker here. So start point of the window, end point of the window, and the width of the window, right? These are the three things which you need in order to define the window, and this has to be dynamic, because if it is static, it serves no purpose, because your date is going to be dynamic. It will keep on changing and keep on expanding as RBI keeps on adding new rows in its data sets, right? So let's go step by step. First is that I need to define a parameter, because it has to be dynamic and it has to be user control, so I need a parameter. So what is the parameter going to be? Parameter will be number of units in view, date units in view. So I'll say number of date units or time units. Let me just say time units in view. Okay. So when I say number of times in view, it has to be naturally integer. It can't be float, right? And then I can basically define a default number, which can be 12. Because 12 is the number of months, because my data is in months, so I say 12 months, okay? And I say okay. After having done that, I have to define the start point of the window. End point of the window, where the window ends, that's the maximum date. Now, how do I do that? And that also has to be user defined and can change depending upon, as the date expands. It can't remain static. So I need another parameter. So I go here and I say window end date. So I'll say window end date. Now, since this date is not static, it's going to keep changing with time, so I will need a dynamic mechanism to update the window end date as the data set gets updated with time. So I'm going to pick this from the workbook, means the data set which I have connected into this workbook, and I'm going to pick it directly from the workbook. So let me just make this date first, otherwise it will not come. So when the workbook opens, this date column, from the date I'm going to pick all the set, and I have to define the current value. Now current value you can leave it and you can do it later also, but for the sake of convenience I'm going to go to the maximum date and define the current value as the 30th June 2024, because that is the maximum date value in the data set, and I say okay. Now this is the window end date, but this window end date is a parameter. I have to convert this into a calculated field which I can use for my calculation. So I'll say window, again I name this as window end date, and this is a calculated field where the parameter is going to be the calculation. Simple, right? So I just put the parameter here and say window end date. After having done that, I need the window start date, and I have got what? I have got the window end date, I have got the time units in view. So window start date will be what? Window started will be window end date plus the number of time units in view, right? Now there is a function in Tableau which is called date add, right? So I'll say, let me just first name this window start, START, start date, and I'm going to use this function called date add. Now if you are not sure about date add, just say add date add here and see what this function talks about. It basically says that date add, date add. So you need to tell the function at what granularity you are going to add the date, month, week, year, quarter, etc. So it says month, how many dates you are going to add, 3, and what is the date on which you are going to make the addition, which is the date here. So in our case, the first parameter will be month because my granularity is in month, and then the number of units is the number of time units in view. So I say number of time units in view, and then I have to basically give the date on which I am going to add the number of time units in view, which is the window end date. Now note, there is a problem here. The problem is that I am not going to add window end date on top of window end date the number of time units, which otherwise it will go out of the window. I have to go behind, for which I have to do a negative here. Otherwise what will happen? I will not get the window start date. I am going to get a date which is going to be 12 units, which is a default parameter for number of time units in the future, right? Not in the past, because I need past because that is the window start date, and I say okay. So I have got window start date, window end date, right? Now I need the window width. Now window width is what? Nothing but what? Window start date, something which is falling between window start date and window end date. What is that? This is the date, right? So I have to now create a function which has to be a Boolean function. Now you know Boolean is true and false. So I'll do a calculated field and I say window width, width, window width. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say window start date first, and then I'll say the date is what? Date is window start date is less than equal to date, because date is here, right? So it's a date. So this is one Boolean function, but this is not going to serve my purpose. I need two Boolean function with an AND function, because both the logic has to be true simultaneously. So I'll say and then I'll go down below and I say date. Again I'll say date, right? And I'll say that is less than equal to window end date. And I'm going to close this in a bracket so that it is not lost. So it is clear. So you get a Boolean function here. Say okay. Now you bring this in the filter. So once you bring this in filter and I say true, you will see the window is going to shrink, and I then do what? Entire view. So you'll see that you have got 12 time units in view. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I think 13 because I think there is a problem here because I am chosen here. Let me make a small change here because I am using equal to on both sides. So I'll just remove one equal to here, and then you'll see it will be 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? Okay. So now you are set with the window. Your window has been set, and now it will be dynamic. Because reason it will be dynamic is that if I show parameter, let me remove this timer here, and if I change it to 14, right, you'll see that the number of time units are going to change, right? If I make it 15, it is going to change, right? So let's do 12. Now what I have to do now? Now I have to basically go and bring the value into the rows. So once you have value in the rows, you are going to get a curve like this, and don't worry about it because this is not the end of the show. Then you put metric in color. As soon as you put metric in color, and then you put metric also along with in the rows, you will find that. And now let me do the following. Let me just do fit width only, because otherwise the whole thing is getting cluttered. So you will get something like this. Let me hide this date here. I'll hide this date here, and I'll do one more thing. I'll go to what is that, table layout, and go to advanced. I'll bring the dates on top. So this is how you can do it. Your dates are going to go up. So like this, right? Whatever was on the bottom is now come up. Now this is looking very strange. It does not make any sense for anybody. So what you do is that you double click here. Once you double click here and you say independent axis range for each row and column, and you don't include 0, so then you will see that the line curves are going to become much more pronounced and clear. So instead of line, what I am going to do, I am basically use bar, right? So this is how you will see the visualization will keep on change, and you can hide it. I can hide this. Now you have got different dimensions here, metric here, which is descriptions here, and you have got a window here, right, which is basically definable, and you can basically put a label here and show mark level, and you will see all the values going to get displayed here. But these values are all different, because if you see, they are not on the same unit. For example, commercial paper is rupees crore, CPI is in a not unit, CPI for agriculture is also different. So how do you compare? Now this is where the main part of this video comes in, right, which is going to be very important. So what you need to do is that you have to create a reference, and reference which is also under user control. So I can decide to use the window start date as a reference, and then let me first do that. Let me just create a reference first, then we'll go step by step. So I'll do a calculated field, and I say reference reference value, right? So once I do a reference value, what will be the reference value? Reference value can be extracted out from this window by using a window function. Window function only works at the level of window. Means it is top of the other functions, calculated functions, right? So I'll say lookup. Lookup is a window function. Then what I'm going to do, I'm saying lookup what? Lookup some value. Some value. And what you want to look up? You want to look up the first in the window. So there is a function called first. So when I say first, you'll say first. So this value will get looked up, right? So if I say okay, now if I put reference value, I don't know whether it will make any sense or not. You will see that, yeah, it makes sense. You will see that this reference value 44458 is getting repeated throughout the window, right? This is the first value which is getting repeated throughout the window. Now you got it? So you have the reference value. Now what you need is to create a ratio between the reference value and the existing value. So what you need is, you need to divide this by this. If you create a ratio, then you will know by how much ratio this value has changed over a period of time. It's a simple division. So you take reference out of the view and then create a value called calculate field called ratio. Once you have that, what you need now? Very simple. You just have value divided by reference value, right? There will be an error here because this is not aggregated. The value has to be aggregated and you will say sum, right? Sum value divided by reference value, because within the reference value calculation I have used sum as an aggregated function and all value has to be aggregated. So okay. Now I have got ratio. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to replace value with ratio. Now as soon as I've done that, and I again do the same thing which I've done earlier, I'll say independent axis and there's 0 also, I just click. Now you will see that all reference values have in the initial window has become 1, and now you are able to see that how the reference value, how the other values have changed with respect to the reference value. Can you see that? That your commercial paper outstanding, if you consider this as 1, then as you move forward with time, the ratios have changed with time. For example, CPI, the reference value in 31st July 2023 is 1. If you take this as a 1, then the number which is on 30th June 2024 is 1.02, right? This is how you can make the comparison. But there is another problem. I don't want the reference value to be static. I want the reference value to be also changing with time, or not changing with time, user definable. So what I do is that I basically create another parameter called reference value index, or index value. Let me just see index value. And this I can basically again use integer and I say 0, right? And say okay. And in this function where I do the lookup, reference value lookup, edit, what I do is that I just add this first plus reference value index. Simple as that, right? Currently it is 0, it's not going to change. Now if I show up the reference value index show parameter, and if I add here, let's say 1, you will see that this was all 1 here. Now the second date is going to become 1. Now you are comparing with what? 31st August 2023. Now if I make it, let's say 5, you see the reference value has now changed to 31st December 2023. Now so you have now what? You have got control of not only the way you want the value to be shown, but you have the control of from where you want to go to make the reference comparison. Okay, so this is a very important way of looking at the data. Then what you want is, you want to basically sort this in a manner to able to demonstrate, to see which one has changed the maximum, right, within the window period from a ratio point of view. Because if I do a unit basing sort, then I will not get the right kind of sorting, because everything has got a different unit. It is not comparable, but ratios are comparable. So what I am going to do is that I am going to do a sort on the start date. But the problem with start date is there are data which are missing here. I am going to show you in the main sheet. You will find that there are many values which are missing here, which RBI has not updated. So it is not good for me, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a date which is one step behind. So this is the date I'm going to choose, 31st May 2024. So again, what I'm going to do, I'm create a calculated field, right? And in the calculated field, I'm going to basically, name it whatever way you want to name it. I'll say the sorting date or date. You can say sort date. The data sort date or data sort date. Right? Okay. Sorry. Sort date. Let me make a date with date to sort. Okay. Whatever you want to do, it doesn't matter, right? Now, what is the date which you want to sort? Value. By which you want to sort. Sorry, value, not date. Value. Value. Sort by value. Let's do sort by value. Sort by. Sometimes naming is a challenge. Sort by value. Now, which values you want to sort? I want to sort by this value, right? So I have to do a lookup function again. So lookup is what? Lookup is the last, right? And then last minus 1, because I don't want the last value to sort with. Last minus 1. And before that lookup, I have to do the expression now. What I have to sort? I have to sort ratio, right? So it's a ratio. So I say ratio, and then I have to sort the last ratio minus 1, right? And I say okay. Once I have done that, you convert this into discrete, right? And after having converted into discrete, then you basically put it right here. You will find that everything will get sorted upside down, right? This is a typical feature of problem. So if I make it negative here, and then what I do is that again I convert this into discrete and I bring this right in front of you, you will find that everything will get sorted based on the last value. And what I can do is, so this is how it gets sorted. You see that everything is getting sorted based on the date, which is the second last date, or the value which is the second last date. So like for example, if you see, and let me do one more thing, I'll remove the header here and say direct investment to India. If the ratio, if this is the value which you are taking as a reference, it has become 13.23. And how do you know that? Let's look at the value here. Let's do one thing. Let's put value in detail, because then you will be able to see the value. This is how much? Oh, this is a value is 376, and this is how much? This value is 4792. So if I do 49972 divided by what? Divided by 376. It comes out with 13.23, right? So that's how it will get sorted here. So you will be able to see which values get sorted. But still this is not looking good enough, right? I need a window which is completely, in one single monolithic block, so that I can use it for display purpose or printing purposes or sharing purpose, because this is not good. Suppose if I do a entire view, it will get all cluttered. It's not going to look good. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to do fit width at this particular point of time, and then I'm going to use a rank function, right? So I'll use calculated field and I say rank, right? What I'm going to rank? I'm going to rank this sort by value. So I'll say rank unique, and I say sort by value, and then I am going to say, then I am going to do a default table calculation, and it will be what? It will be using the metric as the compute. It will compute by metric, not by any other thing. So then you make it to discrete. So once you have done discrete here, and then what you do is that you bring it right here. You will see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is going to go like that. Now what you want is that you have now ranked every sort value by their ratios. Then you put that into filter, and then after having done that, you choose how many ranks you want. Even if you want to, you can do parameter define also, but I don't have much time in this video, so I'm going to show you. Let's say if you want to choose first 15, you say first 15 okay, and then if you do an entire view, you will see that this is much more manageable, displayable. I'll remove this, and what I'm going to do, I'll put my face here. So this is how it is finally going to look. And now it is just a matter of formatting. If you want to choose only 10, you just remove those 15, because if you feel that it's still much more cluttered, you remove this and I say okay. and then you see that you have these things right under your control, and you can do so. Like this you can do many more things. But one thing I like to tell you, when I have been working with Tableau for last 5 years. I find Tableau very confusing at the time when you are using these functions in a very hierarchical level, like multiple functions, you are doing kind of LOD functions. So what I have decided to, in order to prevent all this confusion, because I need the data set to be maintained also, right? I use all my data processing using Python. I don't use, Tableau to process data. I use minimum calculated field. Otherwise, it becomes extremely difficult to maintain the visualization. You want the visualization to be as simple as possible, right? And now it's a matter of just formatting. So I hope, friends, that you probably understood that how easy it is to process data and how these simple skills can help you in unlocking the story from the data. Even the data is of diverse nature or different units. What strategies you can follow in order to unlock the story and look at the data from different directions, right? The story is never going to get unlocked by looking at the data from only one direction. You should have full flexibility to change the window end date, to change the total number of units, even the start date, which I have not showed you. There are many flexibilities which you can inbuilt into this dashboard, which will be user definable and controllable, right? So I hope, friends, that you have liked this, you have understood this video, and maybe you appreciate the way this data has been shown. And in case if you want any other insights or any other things that you want to add, which will add my own knowledge on this subject, because I really look, this is not my domain expertise. My domain expertise was something totally different. But in order to excel in that particular field, I was forced to learn these skills, because I figured out that without these skills, I will not be able to do better in my own job, which is the domain expertise of mine. And that is the reason I have got into this. And as I have gone into this, I have unlocked a lot of things which I have self-learned myself, rather than basically going and these are things, which you may not find it easily available everywhere in the internet. Though there are many sites, there are very good videos which are available. But some of the things which you figure out as you work your way on the task that you are doing or any problem that you are solving, you will unlock many new insights which are specific for your own domain on expertise or the problem statement that you are trying to solve. So I hope that you appreciate and you like this video, and many thanks for watching till the end. I'll come back with a new video next time. Thank you very much.